So this is the regular meeting of the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. It is March 10th. We're calling the meeting to order at 12:04 p.m. We are meeting by video conference only, as indicated in the agenda posted with the town clerk. So first item on the agenda is to approve the past minutes, which were forwarded around with the email. And these are from February 10.
I have only one thing.
You're getting good, Cliff.
These minutes are great, Cliff. Actually, reading through these minutes, it's like being there again. It's like I remember everything that we talked about. So the only thing I have, do you want me to say, Craig?
Please.
So under recycling, where you talk about what the town pays for tires and smoke detectors, the town has to pay for recycling. Okay, so you said 1,800 tires and 1,900 smoke detectors. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was actually $1,800 and $1,900, because it's yes. Like 2 to 3 containers of smoke detectors, which would be 200 to 300 smoke detectors.
That is correct. That was a close approximation of the dollars we expend each year to properly recycle those two items.
Other than that, they're great.
So is that a motion to approve as amended?
Yes. Second? Yes.
Do I have a second? Kathy seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, just show me your hand because I can see all your faces. That looks like the meetings have passed unanimously. The minutes have passed unanimously. So that's closed. So as you saw in the email and the agenda, I wanted to try to reserve a fair amount of time to start getting our heads around the current sustainable CT action items, because if we're going to either maintain bronze or reach for silver, we have to be proactive in that effort. And so the start of that process is to go back and look at the list and figure out where our point opportunities are and where our opportunities to be more sustainable are as town. But so to get into quick updates, maybe since Ed is not here, he was looking into charging station funding opportunities that may overlap with some of the work that Kathy has done looking into electric bus funding opportunities. Kathy, do you want to give us an update on your research?
Excuse me, Craig, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm on my phone. I'm headed to another meeting, but I didn't want to miss this one. So the charging station item hasn't changed, so I did want to make sure that we didn't miss the opportunity. But I am still actively looking at it, and I know the first selectman has asked me to do that. So we're going to continue to start looking for opportunities to move on those.
You might be interested in some of the information that Kathy came up with as well on her research. So go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, so through my association with Sustainable Fairfield County, I have been participating in a number of seminars, a series sponsored through an organization called Live Green CT. They were involved in that big event at Grace Farms a couple of years ago. They're involved. It's Daphne Dixon, who was the founder of Live Green CT. It's a 501c3. They're over at the Fodor Farm, I think it is in Norwalk. Through the seminars that I've taken, I have learned a considerable amount about the activity in the state of Connecticut to begin to pilot and plan for electric school buses. There are 2 of which in the state now, one in Middleton and one coming to New Haven any day now, as well as electric school buses in Beverly, Massachusetts, and the companies that are working on those and the technology that is involved in making EV school buses happen. First Student, which is our bus company, does not have any EV pilots in the state of Connecticut, but they are working with technology providers and moving in that on a national level. this is knowing that you don't want to spend a lot of time on this today with another agenda item.
This is good stuff. I'll give you a couple of minutes.
Okay, there is a grant program which I was very excited that I was hoping we would have the ability to participate in for using the VW settlement grants that are in a trust that's administered by DEEP. And it looks like, and this was a big push of some of Liv Green's work to find towns that could participate in this. It turns out that the requirement is that the buses have to be from 2009 or older, and the grant would basically fund the replacement of a diesel bus with an electric school bus up to, I think, 70 or 80% of the cost of the project. And in partnership with the bus company, the one that's been done up in Middleton was with DATCO. It appears that it may be, according to Daphne Dixon's research, the only town or city in Fairfield County that has buses in the fleet of buses that are 2009 or older is Stratford. So they are actively and aggressively working with Stratford. What she recommended, she said, however, and I participated in some of these, the cost of the batteries is coming down. There are additional grants with through another program, and that the plan really should be to start having conversations with the superintendent, the board of ed, the transportation director, knowing that the contract is several years out, that the companies will be planning this kind of stuff going forward. And there is a goal in the state of Connecticut to have 30% of their buses and medium and large vehicles in the next 10 years. So this is going to happen. It's happening in the state. So there are presentations, there's data that she is providing with me on the specific EV piece of it, EV school bus piece, that I would like to see if we could come up with a plan to begin to engage the school system and the Board of Ed. She's very confident the prices are coming down and the service providers are anxious to get going because this is going to happen. So this is going to be an ongoing process. If we find that there is a bus in our fleet that's 2009 or older, or for a student's fleet for us, then we could pursue this grant money. If not, there is other grant money coming down the road and the pricing is coming down. Second to that, which is where Ed is still on the call, is this organization, and I learned this through going through an EV school bus toolkit, which is webinars, hour-long webinars with people that make the batteries, the Middletown people that rolled out the bus. There's all kinds of things that get involved with infrastructure, with where the charging stations are. So and most of this I believe we can get online if anyone is interested in educating themselves. But secondarily to this, or in conjunction with this, is a 9-month toolkit program that's available through Liv Green on a broad range of topics, EV readiness topics, and it's everything from what you need to do for planning and zoning or for housing, and there are little sections that you would participate in, and there's quite a bit of information associated. The only commitment, is no charge, is for one member of the community and one member of the staff in the town to agree to participate in some part of this 9-month toolkit, which might be one particular project in May or something. And I can get the details to Ed, but she's got a tremendous amount of information. In fact, I just watched a presentation she gave to Wilton Go Green on everything from where there's grants to what you need to know about building permits and zoning areas and where you put these things and who the people that are doing them. Westport has a police EV vehicle, an electric police car. The type of information that's out there in the networking is significant and may help us jumpstart in a general planning of electronic vehicle stuff. And where it links to Craig and today is that participating in parts of this toolkit provide you points for sustainable CT, because you basically build an inventory of your fleet, or you work on where you have charging stations now and where you would want to put them. Or, I mean, depending on when you're building multifamily housing, where you put them. So that each little segment, and I have the detail of every one and the dates, the work, the action step of any one of these seminars is considered, in a certificate of completion, is considered an action step in sustainable CT. So they're working closely with Sustainable CT on the areas that would relate to electric vehicles and charging stations and batteries and all the rest.
A couple questions.
I'd like to find out where this committee is on, ideas of working. And Daphne would be willing to meet with Ed, Craig, maybe one of these committee meetings, for that 20, 30 minute, here's what I do. What she likes to do is figure out what the town's trying to do and then point you in a way. There's no charges for this. She's a nonprofit and I believe she's funded. You can look at their website in a lot of different ways. So I would strongly encourage we pick her brain.
A couple of questions. So our bus company that serves the Board of Ed is?
First Student.
First Student, okay. And their contract isn't up for a few more years.
Correct.
Originally thought that the settlement money left over from the Volkswagen emissions lawsuit, Connecticut got a piece of that pie, put it into a fund that's in trust managed by the DEEP, and the idea is to use it to reduce emissions.
Correct.
And so the
buses
one
need
they have, a little bit like a light bulb program that Eversource had, which is in order to get the LED light bulb, you had to bring them an incandescent light bulb that you were taking out of service. So it's the cash for clunkers. They want to get the old 2009 diesel bus off the road when you're putting the new electric bus on the road. In that way, they know they're really having a reduction in emissions.
Correct, and that is correct. And in this particular, the next round, they're going to open their third round of grant applications. It would also include marine vehicles like ferries and tugboats, and they have to be a certain age and they either have to replace or rebuild engines, but it's all related to reduction of diesel emissions.
And it's diesel emissions because that was the offending situation with VW.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And the third round will be opening. It's been through all its public hearings, and EV buses, I listened to Deep present, is something they're very anxious to give money to get school buses out. Starting to pilot them because there's a lot to learn about the climate and the noise. So,
but to our knowledge,
we have an old enough bus.
Yes.
We can confirm.
Yeah. So to our knowledge, we don't think our bus company has a bus that old.
Daphne doesn't think that from looking at Registry of Motor Vehicles data.
That's a point that you can follow up on with them.
We would have to, myself or someone will need to contact our transportation department and find that out and see if they'd be willing to talk to us about the age of the buses and contacting First Student or whatever.
We, just from being a mom whose kids take the buses all got turned over. I mean, we all had got new buses like a year ago. So
you believe what we think we found out. But no matter, I think if you're willing to follow up and just get the final answer to that question, I think that just closes the door on that particular thing. I think also this is all part of our strategy to, open up conversation with the Board of Ed about what does this look like in 3 years or 6 years or 9 years, and what is the plan and who's working on the plan and is anyone working on the plan and can we help you work on the plan, that kind of thing.
Yes, state law is that contracts can be no more than 5 years. So we have less than 5 years before the next contract. Yeah. And the planning for that does start much sooner than
I'm sure.
the birth
right.
of the next contract.
They've got to source these things. They've got to be manufactured. They got to know what the financial implications are. You start this years ahead of time before entering into a new contract.
And the discussion of EV vehicles apparently becomes a competitive advantage as a number of the companies that service Connecticut are piloting as we speak to build experience and then be able to have a fleet.
Yeah, if there's a 30% requirement by 2030, then they want to be the bus companies that can compete for that business.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay.
So actually, it doesn't matter so much about the fleet of First Student because we're talking about a new contract and it could be with anybody. And it seems to me that all these bus companies, they need to be informing themselves and setting up their strategies because they're going to be competing for our business.
Yeah,
I will send you an article about First Student doing this nationally, but not in Connecticut that I just received today.
I'm sure my impression would be that these are savvy business folks and they are probably making these plans. But I think the idea of now was if we could identify a bus that qualifies to get off the road, we could try to instigate for that pilot electric bus now using the VW money. That was the link to now and first student and initial contract. But you're right. When contract negotiation is up, we can go to any company. But that's where the conversations with BOE start to say, well, what are our goals over the next several years?
And in reality, it's not just a school issue. It involves ed. I mean, because you end up having to have a specific type of charging station, and so the infrastructure in the community. Again, I'm learning things I never thought I wanted to know. The infrastructure to provide this type of service will probably extend beyond the school department's contract negotiations or desire to work with a particular company.
Yeah, you're right now. They have to lease a parking lot somewhere. But in the future, they're going to have to lease a parking lot with a significant amount of available power.
Which means you work with the power company, the people in your public works department, whomever would make. It's a complicated issue. So maybe not having a grant is a good idea if in fact the idea would be to raise this and use the expertise that surrounding Fairfield County and Connecticut communities have already learned.
Well, so either way, the things we can do now is to continue to stay informed what you are doing. Thank you very much. And to broaden the envelope of those that are informed and start the planning. So that's what I would hope you would continue to do. So thank you.
And separate from that, I would like to introduce somehow in some subsetting the EV readiness planning and material that is available for Ed to be able to take advantage of as he's looking for grants. Daphne knows Jamie. They've worked on things together, apparently an low idling project. There are a number of things. So she's a well-respected person in this community, and maybe we take that offline, but arrange a Zoom or something.
All right, we're gonna keep on trucking, keep on bussing. Thank you, Kathy.
You may have some charging station solutions for him.
Yeah. So item 2C on the agenda was just quick, two things on food scraps. First, go ahead, Carolyn, you can take them both if you'd like. I can share the screen if we need to.
Okay, so the first one briefly, I received a request from a parent at Oxbridge School. She's one of the 5th grade coordinators, and typically they do a fundraiser to buy a gift for the school, but in this new COVID environment, they've been doing things a little bit differently, and they would like to provide a leadership opportunity for kids, especially a service project, and to involve a service project and activism. So she said that she was interested in getting the kids involved to help in some way with our food scrap recycling program. So we spoke a little bit yesterday, and we came up with some ideas, which I can kind of put together a plan and share with all of you via email. But basically, they do announcements every morning, and they would be kind of like trying to inform each other about the importance of diverting food from the waste stream and putting posters up around school. It would be Earth Week, which I think she said it's April 19th to the 23rd. And then there were other she said, possibly helping to sell some of the food scrap recycling kits. And, in this environment, we're not going to encourage the kids to go out and be face to face with the public, but, perhaps their own families and neighbors, putting some of the postcards in, like maybe each child could do. There are three classes, so about 60 kids all together. If each could put like 3 postcards in neighbors or friends' mailboxes to encourage them to do the food scrap recycling program. And then each class would do, in terms of encouraging activism, each class we discussed how one could perhaps do a letter to the editor, talking about what they've learned and why they think it's important for residents to participate in the program. Another one could, there's currently a bill at the state level. I don't know where it will be at that point in time, but A second class we would encourage them to write to our local legislators to either, support that bill if it's still alive at that point, and if not, just talk about the importance of future legislation to encourage diversion of food from the waste stream. And then the third class would write a letter to the school superintendent and the Board of Education asking if they could pilot a program in their school to divert food waste. So it kind of covers a lot of different grounds. So yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm thinking that maybe we can even let the Darien Times know about it and see if they might be interested in covering it. They usually do a big article for Earth Day. It might, since this is kind of a, an in-depth project, they might be interested in doing that. So I can reach out to them. So there's that.
Carolyn, before on that one, just a quick thing, if there's possibility, if for even one day or for those letters, they could collect their food and then we could weigh it at school or somewhere, they could say this is how much if they in one particular period of time, one class or two classes or three classes just took their food and then we could take it to the dump,
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
Request for math problem.
And one other aspect, I didn't go into all the details, but we had also talked about how each child could, once their family is participating, they could weigh their food scraps on a weekly basis and just kind of add up to see what they're taking out of the waste stream. So yeah, no, that would be good too, like for if they're in school, their lunches and so forth. So yeah, so we can finesse that.
That's fantastic. So how many, I love all of that. Any other comments for Carolyn on the school program?
No, it's great. I mean, let us know how we can help. I mean,
oh, great. Yeah. Well, I'll send around sort of a, an outline of what we have planned, and then I'll invite comments. So see if anyone, like Kathy's comment about collecting the food waste in the school, and is a great one, because that would just be information that they could put into the letter to the school superintendent and the Board of Education.
So once we have the outline that is specific to Ox Ridge, are there other folks we could send that outline to so that the concept might get picked up at the other elementary schools?
That's what I'm hoping. That I think that if the program is successful, and the parents feel that the kids have learned a lot, and depending on how it goes, I think it's something that we could sort of export to all the other elementary schools to see if they're interested in doing it too.
Great. All right. And how many cards do you have? Postcards.
Postcards? How many postcards do I have?
Yeah.
Oh, we ordered 1,500.
Okay. So if anybody needs a stack of those and wants to hand them out to
Cliff already has some, and Dan,
when you go to the dump swap shop, Dan, maybe you should have two down there.
Dan brought them to the swap shop today, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't. I wasn't there, but I'll have them there on Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Oh, great.
And I'll be handing them out.
Excellent.
Great. Craig, I also gave a stack of them to Leslie McCarthy, who does the puts the information together for the welcome bags for new residents, and she's also very involved with Darien's garden. And so they're doing a project at one of the local, there's a project that she's working on. So she had asked for a bunch of cards, so I gave her a stack.
And I guess we should probably have a stack at DPW, right?
I put some in DPW, I put some in the lobby at Town Hall, and I also, Pam Gary, the Director of Parks and Rec, at the Green Team meeting the other day, she said that she would be happy to put some on her counter and also at the paddle hut. So I brought some to her yesterday. So I'm, looking for ideas on where else to put them. I don't know if the library has a table where things can go, but I was going to contact Sally to see if she might help promote it. And I thought I could contact some of the local realtors to see if they would mind putting some in their offices so that people coming in to look could stumble across this program. So there's lots of places.
Awesome.
I think the cards will go.
Kathy?
Carolyn, to the point, Carolyn, thank you for the mailed images, because we were on the green team, and I made a comment about the new mom's website, which some of you are on and probably others would not be. I know Susie Flaherty is on that website, but I got off of our green team call, and there was someone who was writing about, where can they take a mattress? And someone said, you can also take your composting. And they're like, no way, you can do that in Darien? You're kidding me. And information, but we will post in a couple of these places that artwork as a post to say if you didn't know it. Because I think that putting it out on social media, people can share it.
Do you have the ones you sent around, Carolyn, were look a picture or a scan of the actual card? Do you have the original file? If we're going to post somewhere, it would look a little clearer.
Yeah, I can send you. So it's a little complicated because the front of it was actually made on Vistaprint, so I don't have that. But the back of it I did on PowerPoint, so I can send that because I know the scan didn't show, wasn't like super clear. So I'll try to get you a better quality.
I can make a PDF of PowerPoint if you need, or if you can, and just the clearest images for posting. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to get the best image for the front, but I'll work on that.
Can you go to the printer and ask them if they have a simple digital file?
Yeah, I guess I could ask them.
All right, I'm going to move on. Thank you very much, Carolyn. That sounds like awesome progress.
Great job.
Well, thanks for all your comments, because your comments helped me to make it better. So thanks for all the inputs.
It looks excellent. It's really great.
Thanks.
Do we want to put the digital file up on our website?
Yeah, once we get it.
Yeah, I think we should do that. And also, I noticed that the food scrap guide is not there. Could we put that there as well?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, get it to Pam.
Yeah, if anything you want to put up there, just send over to me.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pam.
Carolyn, on the food scrap, just to tell you, and I will send via email, but there's Wilton Go Green is holding with people from several communities about food scraps in the school. Have you seen the date of that on March 25th from noon to 1? I'll send it to everybody, because it's really how to approach school systems with food scrap recycling using the experiences of people that have already done it. So maybe that's something we could ultimately, in this context of reaching out to the school department, have the electric and the food scrap conversations to go,
Yeah, that would be great. You could send that around.
Okay.
All right, item 2D relates to the swap shop. I got Dan some vests for the volunteers. I assume you got those and handed them out, Dan?
Yep, they're out there and they're using them. Looks terrific. I want to thank Cliff for the sign, because the sign is really working.
That's good.
Working great. Thank you, Cliff.
You're welcome.
And then you have organized with Habitat for Humanity to come on a periodic basis and collect some of the larger items that we would otherwise be tossing.
Yes, we started that. They came, very poor planning on my part. They came on a Wednesday and it was jamming, and I forgot to tell Ed about it. Very poor planning on my part. But Ed saved the day, and we got the truck in, and we gave them a credenza that was wrapped, beautiful, and some furniture and a lamp, and called them back the other day, and they had gotten rid of it the first day. So it was very successful, and they'll be coming down periodically. They'll give me a call when they're coming down.
It's the perfect organization.
Tuesday or a day before, not on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We're going to plan it on a Tuesday, on a day off.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's really the perfect organization. I mean, they outfit homes for folks that didn't have them, right? And
Yes.
I can't imagine a better place for this stuff to end up.
No, it's great because we can hold it for them, and they can come in on the day that we're off, and it's gonna work very well. Thank you, Carolyn. It's working very well.
And it does not end up in our waste stream, which it might if nobody took it from us. So it's
all good.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that Ed called the other day and said that Jamie has been asking if we could increase our days and hours. And I talked to our volunteers, and the concern we have is Saturday was an accident waiting. Saturday was absolutely crazy with heavy equipment going back and forth and major traffic jams going all the way out to Ledge Road. So we wouldn't recommend a Saturday at all. It's just impossible to manage, and I think Ed would agree with me. The other thing is, prior to COVID, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday were not busy at all. It was Friday and Saturday, and we could handle it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with one volunteer, or sometimes not a volunteer at all. I just go in there periodically. But now it's getting so busy with Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that we just don't have the volunteers if it continues to get busy on Tuesday and Thursday. The other thing is that we like Tuesdays and Thursdays because we can clean the area where before we weren't able to. We were just didn't have the volunteers to clean it, and it looked pretty shabby on an ongoing basis. So we wouldn't recommend a Tuesday or Thursday because number one, we want to clean, and number two, we now have Habitat of Humanities coming in with their trucks to pick up, and we'll probably have other operations coming in. So we would recommend that we maybe start at 8:30 instead of 9 to 1 and keep the schedule the way it is. So we should talk to Jamie about that. But right now we don't have the volunteers. And we also believe that our schedule is pretty good at this point in time.
Yeah, I know that.
Could you go till 2?
Excuse me?
Could you go till 2 instead of 8:30?
I asked our volunteers that, and the problem we have is we don't really have the volunteers. It gets pretty hectic there, and we need all our volunteers, 3 or 4 of them, to really take the traffic. And it's tiring, right now from 9 to 1. And I asked them that, and they said, Dan, that's really stretching it for us. If we get some more volunteers, we can do that.
Now, I totally appreciate this, and we can keep an open conversation going with Ed and Jamie. Obviously it is there as a town service. We do want to be accommodating if we can be accommodating. I totally get your concerns about Saturday just being too busy and which leads to some unsafe conditions. But I wonder if the busyness of 9 to 1, 3 days a week, only open 12 hours is because you're only open 12 hours, right? And that if you were open 15 hours, maybe it would be the same amount of traffic over more time. So I think that's something to consider. But before COVID, we didn't necessarily have a volunteer or volunteers there all the time, right?
No, we didn't.
We a little bit left it up to the public to kind of come and go and drop and swap as they saw fit. So,
but it wasn't that busy at all. We could do it that way because maybe 1 or 2 cars would come in at any point in time. But if we have a Tuesday and Thursday with the kind of traffic that we're having now, you need people there to handle that traffic.
Yeah.
It just gets. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Come on over. It's just jam. And
I know from when we went through the sustainable CT points last time, and it's a even bigger part of it now, is there's evaluating your offerings, your sustainable efforts on the basis of equity. And so the question is, if you work Monday through Friday, is the swap shop available to you or not? Are there people we are potentially excluding from taking part? given the hours, and is there any way to solve that problem? So I mean, anyway, there's a lot of facets to it, and I don't disagree with your assessment and your current recommendations at all. But I think we just have to keep an open mind to all those facets.
Yeah, I think if we get some more volunteers, we might be able to go to 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, where we have a shift of some volunteers coming in and others coming in around, 12 o'clock, 12 to 2. But right now we only have, 6 volunteers. And especially when we have vacation time, it gets sparse.
Yeah.
The other thing is that New Canaan is now starting their swap shop. Thanks, Carolyn. It's long. Was it 4 years, Carolyn?
Seems like it's been 4 years that they've been thinking about it, but they haven't given up. They've been really determined to do that. So
No,
I'm
they
glad
started.
they are.
It was in the New Canaanite that they are starting it next couple of months. They have a hut already set up, and they're ready to go.
So thank you, Dan, for the update. I'm going to use the rest of our time. Oh yeah, go ahead, Christine.
I just have a quick question. Is it not in the budget anywhere to hire like a parking facilitator through Public Works to help out, so the volunteers are really not in charge of parking, because that is probably not what they volunteered for? And then my second question is, how do we reach more volunteers? If you wanted more volunteers at the swap shop, how do you go about getting those volunteers and training them?
Well, people usually come and tell us that they want to volunteer.
Okay.
And they'll stop and talk to one of us and say, "Gee, I'd like to volunteer." And we ask people too that usually come to the swap shop, "Would you like to volunteer?" Or if people say to me,
should we advertise for volunteers? Like put something on social media asking if you're interested, if you value the swap shop and you want to see it open a greater number of hours, would you be
that's
willing?
a good idea. We should do that. Yes. If
I was thinking
anybody would like the swap shop to be open till 2 o'clock, we need more volunteers.
Yeah,
Yes.
put a Facebook floater out there and see what happens.
So
Yeah.
Dan, should I have them contact you, or should I have them? Okay, so we'll talk. You'll tell me what number or what email you would like me to share.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Thank you, Carolyn.
And if we
Not that we're
continue,
going to be running volunteers, Dan, but it does feel like you need a few more.
I mean, do the volunteers, do they have those vests that you guys ordered for
yes.
traffic
yes.
safety and
Yes.
all that?
When
And
you get
there's
on there, you'll
I
see
don't
them
know if
that way.
Ed's, it doesn't look like Ed's on this call, but there's no liability with that. I'm just.
Well, we can talk to Ed when he is available to us.
That's a good question. I don't know.
The point that I do take Christine's point in that, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, all of these town services, this is now a town service, and should it be up to a volunteer corps to run a town service? And yes, I get it. We like our low taxes and we don't want to increase budgets unnecessarily, but if this is a effectively profitable town service because we're avoiding stuff ending up in the garbage that we pay to send to Bridgeport, would we be willing to pay some part-time hours for some support? I think that is a reasonable question to ask. So we
And
will
maybe
ask it
something
when
to
we have
consider putting, as a budget line item for this committee, if it fell under us.
That would be under DPW. He would have to, that would be someone that worked for him, not for us, and it's his budget. So
Right.
Yeah, it would have to be someone that works for him. That's a good question. Having someone handle the traffic.
Right.
or just a part, there's a person that's 20 hours that, that's a part of some responsibilities they have for the town, whatever they are.
And especially, because I think, Dan, you've mentioned it before, that there's can be some lifting of heavy items, stuff like that. I would think there could be some liability for the town if it
There's some
wasn't
aggressive
an employee.
going on there too. Yes, we've got liability on both ends, I think.
All right, well, that's a conversation we have to have with Ed, and he's not available to us right now, so we'll make a note to have that conversation with him.
Ed's here on the phone, right?
Oh, he is. No, I still can't see you on the phone. I don't. Like participants.
Ed, are you listening, Ed?
Hey, we go through this conversation just about every 3 or 4 years. This would be my second time doing it. But yeah, listen, there's always been an issue with manpower, always been an issue with the budget, with the swap shop. the original sell to the selectmen was it was going to be volunteered run. It was going to be what it was and what it is. It's actually a very good program. And like always, I will help you as much as I can. My hands are tied in certain areas, as you guys well know. But you know, I think we've made great strides in keeping it safe, reduced liability, of course. The one piece that has always concerned me is the traffic over there. The non-Saturdays have been a big plus, the relief actually in my case. But the one thing that I hope that you guys do consider, and I know you're going to start considering additional volunteers, hopefully additional hours, is I'd like nothing more to go our previous hours on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to see if that kind of alleviates some of the traffic stress with the addition of some more volunteers to help man the place.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so and these can be, so Ed, if we wanted to wave a magic wand and say there's some 20-hour individual that keeps an eye on the swap shop and does some other things that you need them to do, how do you get that approved and who needs to lobby for it?
Well, the recycling and sustainability committee is the lead always. I as far as I support whatever you guys would like to do. It'd be great to have somebody there to run the place, because I think it has to show that there is a monetary reduction in our use over there as far as fees. That's the big key, to sell it to Kate, and she's going to be the one that's going to present the Board of Selectmen the budget every year, as she does. So that's kind of the circle, if you will, of how to get it to the top. Now, the other piece that you folks won't know about is, any DPW member of their union, there is no part-time union member. That would be another hurdle, if you will, before you could hire a part-time person. So there are a couple little things that are out there, but the conversation would need to start with the first selectman and the town administrator.
Okay. I mean, it is,
See, I don't think there's a problem with our, Ed, I don't think there's a problem with our handling the traffic. I think you see it on your camera, that I don't see a big problem with the traffic flow, because we're always there.
I do watch it on occasion, especially around lunchtime, and it is managed better now.
What's that?
I said it is managed better now. I do watch it around lunchtime when it gets busy.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing good, and the people are actually listening to you, which is an improvement.
I don't know if you see, we use a sign now, which is terrific.
Okay.
We don't let people in, and we say drop off only, and it's working. So I hate to spend our town's money.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, everything's easier with free labor. But the question is whether that's realistic in the long term and in the best interests of everybody. But let's see where we can get with free labor, and we'll do a Facebook post and see how it goes. All right. We're at 12:47 p.m. I will let us run over a little bit as we start what could probably take 4 hours if we allocated the time. Which is our discussion about the kind of updated format of sustainable CT, and starting to wrap our heads around wouldn't be an application this year. I don't even remember if it's an application next year or 2023. I got to remind myself when ours expires, and that would be the year after you go. What I want to focus on here, because it's a lot of information, is not a full discussion necessarily on each potential action item, of which there are 100. And we're only going to make it through a piece. What I want to focus on is a quick read of, is this something we're going to do or not? And if it is something we were going to do, there's kind of two pieces to it. One, to begin to select the member of our committee that will kind of be responsible for further investigation, right? For now, we can say, well, that looks interesting, I'll look into that. And you might look into it and say, oh my God, that's going to take 200 hours worth of work and we'll never get to the end of it. Or you'll say, well, yeah, no, if we did these 3 and 4 things and we had this person do this and this person do that, I think we'd get there, right? So one, I want to maybe try to find out if it's something we should look into. And if we're going to look into, select the person that does the research. And then ultimately, and Kathy's talked about this before too, and I just mentioned it, right? Like, we can't have the 7 folks on this call be doing 100% of this application or being what it means to be sustainable in Darien, right? So really the advocate that we need to find is, and the responsible party that we need to find is maybe someone who already works for the town, right? And we had, you know, great cooperation with Human Services last time. We had great cooperation with DPW last time. We had great cooperation with Jeremy on the housing thing last time. So really it's getting it to a department or a person in town that really should be the person focused on it. So we're going to end up doing some things, but the focus is what do we need to do? So I am going to share my screen with this massive spreadsheet, which is easily and freely downloadable at Sustainable CT. They have a color key, which is stuff that was revised in 2021, stuff that is new for 2021, and stuff that was moved around or renamed, but that's a little unimportant as we go through it. So instead of at the end, they've now put optimize for equity right at the top. And I'm going to guess, and I haven't looked too far into this, but I'm imagining that some of these are requireds, not just, well, you have to do at least one item in every category, right? And so now this is an item category that we'd have to do something in. So there is optimize for equity by completing the Sustainable CT Equity Toolkit in its entirety for any sustainable CT action of your choice. So that's probably the required. There is participate in equity training, have a cohort from your town of at least 3 people, including 1 elected official, 1 higher level municipal staff member, management or director level, and 1 resident serving on your sustainability team. Collectively attend a series of sustainable CT provided trainings on equity. And 1.3, develop and adopt a statement on equity. Develop, adopt through municipal governing body and or board of selectmen, and publicly share a statement on your community's shared vision for equity. I think we should do all 3 of these things. If I was going to volunteer a person of the committee that might be the responsibility on seeing that these get done, I'm thinking about Kathy only because you did kind of all the research on this last time. Does this sound reasonable?
May I make a comment here?
Yes, sir.
Last time I went to these training sessions, it was up someplace near Bridgeport, I think. And they were like 2 or 3 hours each, plus travel time to get there. And I was perfectly okay doing that, but to get the other 2 parts of this, I mean, I'm sure we can get a volunteer to do it, but to get a municipal employee and an elected official to also do this, I'm not sure it's going to be as easy as all that.
Yeah, so here's what I was kind of saying in the beginning, right? We might find that we hit a dead end, right? But I want to start with this sounds reasonable and doable, and see if we can get it done and convince folks to do it before we maybe say no to ourselves, like it would be too hard to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Cliff, right now. Obviously, some of the stuff is all remote, number one, and we may be looking down the road. I think also secondarily, I think there was a lot of feedback on what would be actually involved in some of this stuff. I don't know. I don't know that they made this much more important to the definition of sustainability is to think about equity across many areas of public services and environment and housing and things of that nature. So there is, I can find out. I will make my to-do to see what those really are about.
So
for now.
We think that that points in these 3 categories should be on our radar. I guess let me say it like that. So the answer.
And as you see, they're new action credit only.
Yep.
we can't take before.
Yeah. So you have to, any points we gained for this last time have disappeared, and we can only gain points again for doing it again, or doing what they're asking for. So yes, and then may I add the initials KF here as
Yes.
as the person that's going to keep this in mind and see if we can continue to pursue them. So then we get to thriving local economies. The first item is support redevelopment of brownfield sites. We went through this last time. I don't think there are any in Darien. So there are no really through this first 2.1 any opportunities for us to redevelop brownfield sites and support the redevelopment of brownfield sites. Boy, there's a lot of items on this one. Implement your municipality's sustainable purchasing policy. So I would potentially categorize that as a yes. And Cliff, if I could add your initials under the member of the committee responsible for deciding if we can make that happen.
Yes.
So this is an interesting one that we did not take advantage of last time, and I'm wondering if the chamber would be a good partner in getting this one done. So inventory and promote local retail options, develop, implement, and maintain an ongoing buy local campaign. Obviously, there's a lot of details for how this might work, but I think it's reasonable to have this on our radar. Who would have the best contact with someone at the chamber that we could introduce this to and see if they're excited? They may be already doing something like this. So some of this is just, maybe they're already doing something. Maybe they have to tweak it a little bit to qualify for points. But is anybody involved in the chamber? Know the current head? Okay.
I'm not, but I'm happy.
Okay. Any ideas on this one? So it's a yes with a question mark here for member of the committee. And I guess I'll add a second line.
I can reach out, Craig. Do you hear me?
Okay, yeah, that would be great. So I'll put CL there, and as a second line, I will add chamber question mark. There we go. I'll figure that formatting out. Well, it's just wrap text is what I want to do. Okay. All right, 2.4, provide resources and supports to local businesses. Now this goes down through 4 rows. Host 1 or more business roundtables with municipal officials and staff to support a dialogue on topics including but not limited to the needs and opportunities to build and expand business development in the community. Create or support small business development centers, Main Street programs, tourism boards, central business development districts, or other comparable entities. Invite businesses to participate in at least 3 events to build community recognition. Identify or create and then disseminate a toolkit for resiliency, such as for pre-disaster businesses, business preparedness, and for post-disaster conditions. So again, I feel like the chamber might be doing much of this already. And again, we could either document or tweak. So I'm going to continue to extend your involvement here in terms of opening this dialogue with the chamber, seeing if they want to help us, be a sustainable community by doing the things that they're doing already, or to look at these to think if there are ways they could be tweaked to have even more impact. Promote sustainable workforce development. conduct a sustainable jobs and workforce capacity assessment for the municipality or region, establish or support a sustainable job training partnership, create network opportunities for local job seekers to meet individuals working in or operating sustainable businesses. Now, my first reaction, and I'd like to hear yours, is maybe this is more suited towards a municipality that is a workforce center than it is to Darien, but what do you guys think?
Craig, I would agree with you that in terms of this community, this may not really fit very well. I would say there are some of the workforce networking things in the Women's Center where people collaborate and work together, small businesses and entrepreneurs. I'm forgetting the name of one of Michelle's friends has the building over there by exit 13. So there's some things that there might be people doing small projects in this area, but as a committee, I'm not sure. I do know my husband's been working in Norwalk with a property that's trying to build a workforce training center in an old warehouse, with very specific training goals that make sense as I read this, but not here.
And I know the Norwalk Chamber is actually taking action steps to think about ways to develop a local workforce, not necessarily a sustainable local workforce, but a local workforce.
But so I think this one's I think this one for us is.
So is there anyone on the committee that thinks, yes, this is something that should be on our radar and we should pursue, or should we leave it off for now? Didn't hear any volunteers clamoring for this one, so I'll just throw a no in there. Participate in and promote the CPACE program by passing a municipal resolution, new action credit only, interestingly enough, because we had done that in the past. Encourage local building owners to access CPACE financing, earn credit for CPACE projects. So we did get points for this last time. It was basically property owners that had done efficiency retrofits or solar panels through the CPACE program, and we did get points for it. So I think we want to keep this on our radar. I put my name on here to do a little more research and figure out how to take advantage of that again. We are now on item number 3, well stewarded land and natural resources. This is a long one. The first one, 3.1, provide watershed education. I think we got credit for this last time or something like it. Sponsor or host a program to educate residents and business owners in your community about the value of watersheds and the importance of protecting and restoring them. Implement and maintain a signage program that highlights key watershed issues. Promote and encourage residents and business owners to take a watershed health pledge. And institute a local monitoring program related to watershed functions or health to be conducted by citizen groups such as local nonprofits or K-12. So this is Bill from the Harbor.
Bill Cavers.
Yeah.
This is Bill Cavers and Soundkeepers, where they monitor water along. So some of this work is going on, and certain activities might come out of a conversation about these things.
Exactly. So that's a potential partner, which is good. And so these things all sound reasonable, and these things all feel like we could encourage partners to do them. You know, sponsor or host a program. I mean, that could be the Nature Center or the library as a partner, as a potential partner.
Area Land Trust. I'm just, and again, just brainstorming, I know you want to keep going. I'm looking at the Norwalk River Watershed Association that has 3 or 4 different events in the month of March that relate to anything from soundscape ecology to, green growing around, to save the water and what you're putting in the ground that's going into the watershed. So there's a lot of this kind of stuff that takes place in the area and the degree to which we could funnel it here.
So if we've got the idea for partners on this, so this is really about a member of our committee would get educated on what would need to be done and would then approach partners to find out if they want to be the responsible party for getting it.
Or they're already doing it.
Yeah. So who wants to be that conduit with these potential partners to see if we can encourage them to proceed on this with minimal to little oversight from us?
Carolyn, don't you think this would be something that at the Green Team meeting could be kind of discussed, because that you get all of them in the room at the same time? I mean, Cliff, you're on those meetings, those calls too, to bring this up as an area of opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I think both the Nature Center and the Land Trust would be, they would both be, willing to help in this. I want to kind of like dig into it a little bit more to see what it would involve for them. But you can put my name next to that, Craig, if you want.
Yeah, and again, I'm not, especially with you, Carolyn, I'm not looking to create more work, right? I'm looking to,
right,
again, identify folks that will be like, we will
maybe make suggestions to them, for programming.
You say, look, we were very happy to get to bronze. We want to be able to at minimum renew bronze and reach for silver if we can get there, but we really need a lot of wide community support to do that. Do you want to be part of getting us, back to bronze or up to silver? Would you be willing to do these things? And as a reminder, anyone can go to the Sustainable CT website and drill down on the very specific things, right? And so
what you have to do, right?
Here's the actual. This is what you have to do. You can get PDFs of each single row of this spreadsheet. You can get a PDF that explains exactly how you do it. So create the PDFs, have them at the Green Team meeting, distribute them. Say we're looking for someone to help us.
And like I said, we do some of those things. Like I know we do citizen science monitoring through, if it's not through Bill Capers, through Soundkeepers, and then they present the Health of Long Island Sound report. So there are people doing this. I think it's partly asking them if they want to help us, but I think it's the flip of it is, can we help them with the efforts they're doing to coordinate
documentation, right? This all breaks down, especially for our points at, we did 3 of the 5 things you need to get the 10 points, but we didn't do the other 2. Well, could you have done the other 2 if you knew about it a year ahead of time without taking any more time? And the answer would probably be yes.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, you could plan.
So
yeah.
May I ask here if we can? I'd like to be clear about: is our strategy, our plan here, to wait and until our existing bronze is expiring and apply in time so that it doesn't expire? Because we can apply any time. I mean, we could apply right now for silver if we wanted to in this year. And there are look back limitations and carry forward limitations and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's kind of important to decide and to be clear about when we're going to do this, what we're really going to go for.
I agree. I think so. Some of these, when you do them, they last for 1 year. Some of these, when you do them, they last for 3 or 5 or 10 years. So you're right. We should set the deadline for when we want to refile, so that we're not doing stuff 18 months out and getting no credit when we could have done it 12 months out and getting credit. And remind me, when did we get our certification?
November of 2019.
2019, yeah.
Craig,
So that was effectively
2019.
Yeah, so that was a 2020, lasts for 3 years, 2020, 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
I guess we would have to refile again before the end of 2022 or during the 2022 cycle.
Yeah.
Or sooner. Or sooner. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're not going to do it this year and be able to get all the points in line. I just don't see that happening. That would take a fairly monumental effort.
Right, because there is an annual deadline. I mean, the deadline is August.
That's quick.
31st,
Yeah,
right?
your preliminary application goes in like May, so they
Yes,
can
we're not
hand it
ready.
out to the advisors, and then you can, yeah, it's not happening. So I think for the purposes of our conversation right now, I will do a little more research, but I think we would be active in the 2022 cycle of application filing.
Yes, and I think, but I hear what Cliff's saying and what you just said, Craig, that we could be using this year to
Find our
meet,
partners.
like there's three all the way through there's 3 sections on Watershed under
Yeah.
because it goes to education, management plans, and restoration.
Yes.
So in those 9 or 12 things, whatever they are, that would probably be the same sets of partners, or the people that you talk to at Land Trust or Chambers or whatever would know who the people are that are doing those things, right? So It's like the Watershed's a piece, and we could spend this year knowing.
Or say, here's what the requirements are. Here are our partners to meet those requirements that are on board with us, so that starting from this fall through next fall, they're working on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to be trying to in May of 22 and August of 22 pull this thing together and submit it.
Yes.
So I mean, we're almost in May of this year.
Yes.
So that's I would sort of see May as we need to kick off by then, but we have a clear target. We're talking about 2022.
Yeah, pending more research, we're talking about 2022, and our goal is to kind of get through this, figure out who the person that's going to shepherd it is on our committee, and then really search for partners that want to take it on.
And then just a minor point here. While you were talking, I was trying to fill in the spreadsheet the way you're doing. I'm going to defer to you as the note keeper on this. If you just send me a copy.
Yep.
Like the way I did that, Kathy?
Perfect.
Delegation.
Secretary delegates.
That's the key component we're trying to deal with here.
Craig, is it still silver that we're trying to achieve, or is there now a gold level for the next round?
Well, so here's what I'll say to that. I'll say, let's start by figuring out what's achievable.
Okay.
And then set our goal. We can have our achievable goal and our stretch goal based on our first thought of what's achievable. So
sounds good.
We won't answer that question until we've kind of gone through all this and see where our opportunities are.
Okay.
But again, I mean, the way I would describe it, it was like 200 points to get to bronze. It was like 400 points to get to silver.
Yeah.
We were ways away from silver, right? So to me, I'm guessing, right, because we've already done things like switch out our lights and some of these other easy things, that our achievable goal is to get bronze again, and our stretch goal is to get silver.
Okay.
Or reach goal. I call it reach goal, right? So the natural resources inventory, identify critical watershed resource areas. We really only have one aquifer, but map land uses and possible locations. So a watershed management plan is a bit of a beast, and you have to have someone that really wants to spend the money to do it.
I thought Cavers was doing some things like that. I mean, I know I saw a presentation of his where he was talking about everything going into the river and the impact of parking lots and all sorts of things.
He was going to do that, Cliff, if he was trying to get a grant to do that, and he didn't. He explained to me that they didn't get the grant, and there was another application year, but they didn't get the application in for it. So that's how he was going to be able to do that. So they don't have the grant to do that.
Yeah, it takes.
But there's all the sustainable CT community action grants that if he has a plan and there's another place to look for funding in through this way, it might, he might be interested in pursuing. I don't know.
And so this is why we have these conversations and we search for partners, because we might be able to say, oh, well, have you looked here for money yet?
Yeah. Are you talking about the matching grant, Kathy? The IOBY grants?
So some of the grants from that Sustainable CT had publicized, and IOBY was some of it. There are others that come and go on there. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting if he applied for a grant, he had a project, didn't get funded, might Sustainable CT be able to direct us to another funding source? I don't know.
So
good idea. Yeah.
we've got 3 folks on our committee that participate in the green team, right? Kathy and Cliff and Carolyn.
Mostly them too, but me.
So and at least for what seems like maybe 3.1 through 3.3, and maybe even beyond as you go through some more 3s, that we would hope to find some partners willing to take these on. And I guess, does it make sense then to prepare for a green team meeting and kind of have all of these things laid out and make a bit of a presentation and ask for help? I mean, how does this work?
Yes, a short answer I think would have to be yes. I mean, you can't go to them with nothing. You've got to have some idea about what you're looking for. By the way, I have a hard stop in 10 minutes.
All right. Well, let's get past these.
I do too.
Yeah, we'll finish
1:30.
these 3 and then we'll wrap up. So, Cliff, would you be willing to read the to-do cards on these and think about how you might present it to the green team?
On the watershed?
We're really, I'm looking at everything from 3.1 through 3.3, and whether or not they're possible or not possible, or too much work or too little work, or we have a partner or we don't have a partner, to look into them on the Sustainable CT website, and figuring out what does it really mean to create a management plan and what kinds of things are needed, so that we could ask for this help from the green team.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
All right. With that, I would call that progress. Although there's a lot here. If we're going to scroll down to the end, don't get dizzy. But it ends at 13.1, and we're through 3.3 right now. So that's a good start. Anything else before we wrap up? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.
So long, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wait, I've got to stop recording.